Have you ever wondered why some men seem to possess an ageless wisdom, a devotion so profound that they become the heart of their communities? In today's journey, we uncover a remarkable story, one that originates in a quiet, time-worn village where tradition and love intertwine in ways few understand. This is not just about relationships, nor is it merely about intimacy. It is about the ancient wisdom passed down through generations, wisdom that holds the key to deeper, more fulfilling connections. We will be guided by the voice of an extraordinary elder, a woman whose 72 years of life have been steeped in knowledge, carrying insights that can transform the way we perceive love, devotion, and the unspoken language between partners. This story is not just for men or women. It is for anyone who seeks to understand the art of true connection. Stay with us until the very end, because what you are about to hear may change the way you think about love forever. Welcome to our channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. And because your voice matters, let's engage. If you find these lessons valuable, comment 1 below. If this doesn't resonate with you, comment 0. Your feedback helps shape our future content. Now, let's begin our journey. In the heart of a secluded village, surrounded by lush green valleys and rolling hills, lived Madame Lara, a woman of immense wisdom, her presence a bridge between the past and the present. Her silver hair, shimmering like the first snowfall of winter, framed eyes that carried the weight of countless stories. To the villagers, she was a beacon of knowledge, a custodian of truths that had shaped the fabric of their lives for generations. On an afternoon where golden sunlight danced through the trees, a group of young seekers arrived at her modest home, their eyes brimming with curiosity. They had come not for mere conversation, but for enlightenment, seeking the depth of understanding that only time and experience could bestow. As they settled around a wooden table, worn by the touch of many before them, one among them, a young man with an earnest gaze, posed a question that sent a hush through the gathering. Madame Lara, what is the deeper meaning behind the act of devotion shared in intimacy? A knowing smile played on her lips, her gaze unwavering. She understood that behind this question lay a yearning, not for physical understanding, but for the essence of love itself. With a voice both gentle and commanding, she began to speak, weaving a narrative as old as time. Many believe that love is merely an exchange of affection, but true devotion is far more profound. Our ancestors understood that intimacy was never just about the body. It was a reflection of the soul, a sacred vow between two people. When a man truly honors a woman, when he understands her essence beyond the physical, he reaches a depth of connection that transcends the ordinary. The young listeners leaned in, captivated. Men who understood this truth were revered not only as lovers, but as wise men, leaders within their communities. They knew that physical closeness was not a mere act, but an offering, a demonstration of trust, respect, and an unbreakable bond. These men did not seek to possess. They sought to honor. And in doing so, they earned something far greater than passion. They earned unwavering loyalty, respect, and love that endured beyond the passing of time. If you are still with me and finding value in these teachings, comment 2 below. Let me know you are engaged in this journey of wisdom. As the autumn breeze carried the echoes of her words, the young man who had asked the question sat in thoughtful silence. He had expected an answer rooted in tradition, but what he had received was something far deeper, a revelation. As the sun began its descent, bathing the village in hues of amber and gold, Madame Lara continued her tale. You see, in the days of old, women sought more than mere companionship. They longed for men who could understand, who could see beyond the surface, who knew that love was not about dominance, but about harmony. A man's true strength was not in his power over a woman, but in his ability to cherish and uplift her. This is why those who embraced this wisdom were known as the enlightened ones. One of the young women in the group, her brow furrowed in contemplation, spoke up. But how did they know? How did they recognize these men? Ah, my dear, it was not in grand declarations nor in fleeting gestures. It was in the smallest of acts, in the way he listened, in the way he touched, in the way he gave without expectation. The truest form of devotion is found not in the pursuit of one's own pleasure, but in the desire to create joy for another. The young woman nodded, her eyes glistening with understanding. And that, Madame Lara continued, is why such men were treasured, not because they followed tradition, but because they understood the sacred dance of love, one that requires patience, reverence, and the willingness to give wholly of oneself. As the conversation deepened, the weight of her words settled upon the gathering. They began to see love not as something to be taken, but as something to be nurtured, a force that, when honored, could transform not only relationships, but entire communities. If you are still watching and these words resonate with you, comment 3 below. Your engagement means everything. As twilight draped itself over the village, the young seekers found themselves forever changed. They had come in search of knowledge, but what they had received was something far greater, a timeless truth, hidden in the wisdom of an elder who had seen love in its purest form. Little did they know, their journey had only just begun. The night had settled over the village, wrapping its homes in a soft embrace, the sky above freckled with stars that had witnessed the passage of centuries. The young seekers, still seated around Madame Lara's humble wooden table, felt the weight of her words sinking deeper into their hearts. This was no ordinary conversation. It was an unraveling of truths that had shaped their ancestors, lessons whispered through generations yet often lost in the rush of modern existence. A lantern flickered beside them, casting elongated shadows across the walls, mimicking the shifting thoughts that moved within their minds. The young man who had first posed the question finally spoke again, his voice softer now, more introspective. Madame Lara, you speak of honoring and understanding. But how does a man truly learn this? How does he move beyond the ordinary, beyond selfish desire, to reach the wisdom of our forefathers? Madame Lara regarded him with an approving nod, as if she had been waiting for this very question. She leaned forward slightly, the firelight illuminating the depth in her gaze. To learn the true essence of devotion, one must first unlearn everything the world has taught about love. Many believe that relationships are built on attraction, on fleeting moments of passion. But real love, the kind that endures beyond the passing of years, is cultivated through acts of care so profound they require no acknowledgement. It is in the way a man listens when no words are spoken, in the way he remembers the smallest details, in the way he seeks not to be served, but to serve. You see, young ones, love is not a possession. It is not something you take, nor is it something given in exchange for another act. Love, in its truest form, is an offering. It is the willingness to place another's happiness above your own, not as a sacrifice, but as a privilege. And the men who understood this, who carried this wisdom within them, were the ones who became legends in our village. Women did not love them simply because they were strong or charming. They loved them because they felt seen, truly seen, in their presence. The young woman from earlier, her thoughts still weaving together the wisdom she had absorbed, spoke hesitantly. But Madame Lara, how does one prove such love? Words can be empty. Gestures can be fleeting. How does one demonstrate this devotion in a way that is undeniable? A gentle smile curved the elder's lips, as though she had heard this question many times before. Ah, my dear, that is the very heart of it. Love is proven not in grand gestures, not in gifts or poetic words, but in consistency, in the unwavering choice to show up, day after day, in ways both seen and unseen. The greatest lovers of history were not those who simply professed love, but those who embodied it. And this, my dear, is where the power of intimacy, the sacred language of touch, comes into play. A hush fell over the room, the air thick with anticipation. The young seekers leaned in, sensing that they were about to step beyond the realm of surface understanding into something far deeper, something often left unspoken. Madame Lara let the silence linger before speaking again, her voice softer now, as if she were about to share a sacred secret. In the days of our ancestors, physical intimacy was never seen as a mere act. It was a ritual, a language, a conversation between souls. The men who were most revered were those who understood that a woman's body is not something to be conquered, but something to be worshipped. They knew that pleasure was not about taking, but about giving, about understanding the rhythm of their partner's heart as deeply as their own. The young man who had asked the initial question swallowed hard, his curiosity deepening. So you mean to say that true connection is built not through words alone, but through the way one engages with their partner's very essence? Precisely. A man who rushes through love, who treats it as an obligation or a fleeting moment, will never be remembered. But the man who lingers, who pays attention, who adores, he is the one who leaves an imprint, not just on a woman's body, but on her soul. And this is why, for generations, the most enlightened men understood that intimacy was not a selfish act, but a selfless one. It was an act of reverence, a way to say without words, I see you, I cherish you, I am here wholly without expectation. A deep stillness settled among the group, the weight of her words reverberating through their thoughts. This, she continued, is why those who practiced such devotion were revered, because they did not seek to take, but to elevate. They did not approach love with arrogance, but with humility. And in doing so, they cultivated a bond so strong that even time itself could not erode it. One of the young women, her voice barely above a whisper, murmured, "But does such love still exist today?" Madame Lara's eyes softened, filled with both sorrow and hope. "It does," she answered, "but it is rare. Not because people are incapable of such love, but because they have forgotten how to seek it. The modern world teaches us to chase passion, to chase novelty, to chase validation. But the love that truly lasts, the love that our ancestors cherished, is found not in the chase, but in the choice. The daily, unwavering choice to nurture, to honor, to see one another in the fullest sense of the word." She paused, then added, "And those who remember this truth, those who choose to love with presence, patience, and purpose, they will be the ones who build relationships that stand the test of time. If you are still here, still absorbing this ancient wisdom, comment 4 below. Let me know that you are on this journey with me." As the evening stretched into night, the young seekers found themselves transformed. They had come in search of knowledge, but what they had gained was something far greater, a new way of seeing love itself. The young man who had begun this journey closed his eyes for a brief moment, letting the revelations settle within him. He understood now that devotion was not about being wanted, but about making his partner feel cherished beyond measure. The young women, too, felt a shift in their perspective. They realized that true connection was not about chasing fleeting moments, but about recognizing the depth of presence in the smallest of acts. And as they left Madame Lara's home, stepping into the quiet of the village night, they carried with them not just stories, but a newfound wisdom, a wisdom that had the power to reshape the way they loved, forever. The night air was thick with contemplation as the young seekers walked through the winding paths of their village, their minds heavy with the wisdom imparted by Madame Lara. The stars above seemed to shimmer with newfound intensity, as if they too bore witness to the revelations of the evening. For the first time, these youths understood that love, in its truest form, was not a mere transaction of affection, nor a fleeting desire to be fulfilled. It was a sacred act of devotion, a way of being that transcended words and rested in the unspoken language of the heart. As they neared the central square, they saw the warm glow of candlelight emanating from the home of Elder Helio. He had been waiting for them, sensing that their journey was not yet complete. With a knowing smile, he gestured for them to enter, his voice as steady as the earth beneath them. "You have heard the wisdom of Madame Lara," he began, his deep voice carrying the weight of experience. "But understanding is not enough. You must now learn how to apply this knowledge, how to let it shape the way you live, the way you love, the way you see one another." The young man who had first asked the question took a seat closest to the fire, his gaze steady, his heart open. "Teach us," he said simply. "Show us how to turn wisdom into practice." Helio leaned forward, his fingers tracing the grain of the wooden table before him, as if drawing strength from the history it held. "Love," he said, "is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose every single day. And this choice, this sacred decision to honor another soul, is not made in grand declarations. It is made in the moments when no one is watching, in the way you touch, the way you listen, the way you remain present, even when it would be easier to turn away." The room was silent, the only sound the distant crackling of the fire. The young seekers held their breath, sensing that what came next would alter them forever. Helio's eyes, aged by time yet bright with clarity, moved over the faces before him. A man who wishes to be truly loved must first learn how to give love without expectation. He must understand that the body is a vessel, yes, but the true essence of love is not found in flesh alone. It is found in how one makes their partner feel. A woman, like the earth itself, flourishes when nurtured. She opens when she feels safe, when she feels seen, when she knows, without a shadow of doubt, that she is cherished. You have heard the old stories. The men who were most revered in our village were not those who sought conquest, nor those who sought to take what was not freely given. They were the ones who understood the art of presence, who knew that the smallest gestures, when done with intention, could move mountains. They were the ones who knew that true intimacy is not found in haste, but in lingering, in the slow, deliberate exploration of another's soul. A young woman, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, asked, "But how do we know if love is real? How do we know if it will last?" Love lasts when it is built on understanding, patience, and reverence. When a man sees a woman not as an object of desire, but as a universe to be explored. When he learns the language of her silence, when he studies her dreams as closely as he studies her touch. When he does not seek to claim her, but to stand beside her as an equal, as a partner in the sacred dance of devotion. The room was hushed, the weight of his words settling deep into their hearts. The young man, his earlier curiosity now shaped into a quiet determination, nodded. So love is not something that can be forced. It is something that is earned through presence, through care, through patience. Helio nodded in approval. Exactly. And this is why, for generations, our ancestors practiced intimacy not as an act of mere passion, but as an act of worship, a way to honor the spirit of the one they loved. The touch of a devoted man was not one of hunger, but of reverence. His kiss was not a demand, but an offering. His presence was not a weight, but a shelter. The young seekers sat in silence, absorbing the depth of what they had learned. They understood now that true love was not found in fleeting moments, but in consistency, in showing up time and time again with an open heart and steady hands. As the night stretched on, the conversation wove itself into something greater than words. It became a shift in perspective, a new way of seeing the world. The young men in the room realized that to be truly cherished, they must first learn to cherish. The young women understood that they were not meant to be pursued as prizes, but honored as partners. And so, as they left Elder Helio's home beneath the silver light of the moon, they carried with them more than just lessons. They carried a legacy, a commitment to love not with greed, but with grace, not with haste, but with patience, not with expectation, but with devotion. In the months that followed, whispers of change rippled through the village. Young men began to listen more, to see more. They no longer sought love as something to be taken, but as something to be nurtured. And the women, feeling the depth of this shift, responded in kind. Relationships flourished, not because they were perfect, but because they were built on mutual understanding, on reverence, on the quiet, unshakable presence of true devotion. Madame Lara and Elder Helio watched this transformation with quiet satisfaction, knowing that their work was done. The wisdom of their ancestors had not been lost. It had simply been waiting for a generation willing to listen, to learn, to embrace love not as a fleeting pleasure, but as a lifelong journey. And so, dear viewer, the question now turns to you. What kind of love do you seek? What kind of love do you give? If these lessons have touched your heart, if they have stirred something deep within you, comment 5 below. Let us know that you are here, that you are listening, that you are ready to carry forward the wisdom of the past into the relationships of the future. And if you have found value in these teachings, do not keep them to yourself. Share this wisdom. Honor it. Live it. For love, in its purest form, is not something to be found. It is something to be created, nurtured, and cherished every single day. If this story has resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more timeless wisdom on love, devotion, and the art of true connection. The journey does not end here. It begins with you.